I was paying $6,000 to my mother-in-law monthly, but when I walked into a luxury restaurant, I saw her dining with friends. My son-in-law is such a fool, she laughed. I sent the waiter a note for her. The fool just cut you off. Her face turned pale. I never hesitated when my wife asked me to support her mother financially. $6,000. Every month. A steep price, but family was family. Or so I thought. She's struggling, my wife had said, her voice laced with concern. It's just until she gets back on her feet. Back on her feet. That was 3 years ago. I never questioned where the money went. My wife adored her mother, and I wanted to believe in that bond. I wanted to believe that generosity wasn't a fool's game. Until tonight. The soft hum of a jazz band filled the dimly lit restaurant. Crystal chandeliers cast golden reflections on polished mahogany tables. Luxury at its finest. A place where wine glasses never emptied, and laughter carried a price tag. I was here for a business meeting, one that could shape my future. But fate had other plans. Across the room, perched on an elegant leather booth, was my mother-in-law, dressed in a designer outfit, dripping in jewelry, swirling a glass of aged red wine, laughing, carefree, exuberant, mocking me. My son-in-law is such a fool. She giggled, lifting her glass in a mock toast. The women around her joined in, their laughter sharp and cruel. $6,000. Every month. For what? To fund her lavish nights out while I worked my hands raw. Heat coiled in my chest, a slow, dangerous burn. The kind that doesn't explode. The kind that sharpens. I signaled the waiter. Slipped him a note. A single sentence. The fool just cut you off. I watched as he approached her table, handed her the small folded paper. Watched as she read it. Color drained from her face. The laughter died mid-breath, her fingers trembling against the stem of her glass. She looked around wildly, eyes scanning the room. Searching. Finding me. I didn't look away. Her lips parted, a silent plea forming. But I was already turning, walking out of the restaurant and into the cold night air. She had her fun. Now it was my turn. The cold night air hit me like a slap. Sharp. Cleansing. Final. I didn't regret it. Not the money I had given. Not the sacrifice. What I regretted was the lie. The belief that family meant loyalty. That kindness was always reciprocated. That I wasn't just a walking paycheck to her. The streets were slick with rain, the city alive with headlights and distant car horns. But in my mind, there was only silence. A silence that stretched until I reached my car, slid inside, and gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. Then, my phone buzzed. I already knew who it was. I let it ring. Once. Twice. Then, finally, I picked up. You ungrateful bastard, her voice hissed through the speaker. How dare you embarrass me like that? I exhaled slowly, pressing my forehead against the steering wheel. Unbelievable. No apology. No remorse. Just rage. Pure, venomous rage. You've been stealing from me, I said, voice calm. Too calm. Living off my money. Lying to my wife. And somehow, I'm the villain. You don't understand. Her voice softened, shifting into something rehearsed. I understand perfectly. I cut in. You needed a fool. And you had one. Until tonight. Silence. Then she laughed. Low. Bitter. You think you're in control? She sneered. You think you can just cut me off and walk away? I own you, son. The line went dead. A slow, chilling realization settled over me. She wasn't done. This wasn't over. I arrived home past midnight, the house dark except for the dim glow of the kitchen light. My wife sat at the table, waiting. Her fingers curled around a half-empty cup of tea, shoulders tense. You're late, she murmured, not looking up. I slid into the chair across from her. Yeah. Silence stretched between us. Heavy. Unspoken. Then, finally, she met my eyes. My mom called me. Of course she did. And? I asked, keeping my tone neutral. She said you humiliated her. I let out a dry chuckle. That's one way to put it. She searched my face. Is it true? I leaned forward. You tell me. Did you know? That she wasn't struggling? That she was using me? Her breath hitched. Guilt. A flicker of something she didn't want to admit. A sharp knock at the door. We both froze. My wife frowned, glancing at the clock. Who the HLL? Another knock. Louder this time. A sense of dread curled in my stomach. I pushed back my chair and moved toward the door, my pulse hammering. When I opened it, I wasn't surprised. She was standing there. My mother-in-law. Face pale. Eyes blazing. And behind her, in the dim glow of the porch light, a man I didn't recognize. A man in a dark suit. A man who looked like he wasn't here to talk. I clenched my jaw. So, this is how she wants to play it. Game on. I kept my grip loose on the doorknob, but inside, every muscle in my body tensed. She brought backup. My mother-in-law stood rigid on the porch, wrapped in her expensive coat, the illusion of sophistication barely masking the fury burning in her eyes. But it was the man beside her who set off every alarm in my head. Tall, broad shoulders, dark suit, a face carved from stone. Not family, not a lawyer. Something worse. I exhaled slowly. You're not welcome here. The man smirked, But it was my mother-in-law who spoke first. We need to talk. Now. Not interested. I moved to shut the door, but the man's foot wedged into the gap. A deliberate move. A warning. Behind me, my wife's voice wavered. Mom? What's going on? My mother-in-law softened instantly. Too instantly. She craned her neck, peering past me. Sweetheart, tell your husband to stop acting like a child. I just want to talk. My wife hesitated, torn between instinct and loyalty. I couldn't blame her. She wasn't used to seeing her mother like this. I, however, had no such illusions. I locked eyes with the man in the suit. Take your foot off my doorstep, or I'll break it. He didn't move. Didn't even blink. Just let a slow smirk creep onto his face, like this was all a game. All right, my mother-in-law sighed, stepping between us. If this is how you want to act, fine. But you don't get to just walk away. You owe me. I laughed. A dry, humorless sound. Owe you? For what? Her smile curled, sharp and venomous. For the last 3 years of my life. And then she reached into her purse, pulling out a folder. Thick. Official looking. I didn't take it. She sighed dramatically. Fine. Let me summarize it for you. You know that little investment property you bought? The one I helped manage. A slow, creeping cold settled in my stomach. She tapped the folder against her palm. Turns out, the paperwork was never really in your name. I stared at her. No, she wouldn't. She couldn't. That's a lie, I said, but my voice wasn't as steady as I wanted it to be. Her eyes gleamed. Is it? I reached for the folder. She yanked it back. You cut me off, she said sweetly. So now, I returned the favor. A sickening realization hit me. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was war. See you soon, she purred, before turning on her heel. The man in the suit followed, casting me one last knowing glance before they disappeared into the night. I stood there, breath shallow, fists clenched. Behind me, my wife whispered. What did she mean? I swallowed hard, staring at the empty street. She meant I was about to lose everything. The folder sat between us like a loaded gun. I hadn't opened it yet. Couldn't. Not with my wife standing there, arms wrapped around herself like she was bracing for a storm. Like she already knew it had hit. Tell me she's lying, she whispered. I exhaled, slow and steady. I want to. Her face crumpled. I grabbed the folder and ripped it open. Legal documents. Property transfers. Contracts. My name wasn't on the ownership line. Hers was. That sick feeling in my gut turned into something worse. Betrayal. I flipped through the pages, my fingers moving faster now, scanning, searching. There had to be a loophole, a mistake, something. But the truth sat there in black ink. I didn't own my own damn property. How? My wife's voice cracked. How could this happen? I forced myself to breathe. She managed it. She handled the paperwork. And I trusted her. My wife sank into a chair, shaking her head. I knew she was involved. But I didn't think. She stopped herself. Looked away. But I caught it. That hesitation. That guilt. A sharp edge sliced through my chest. Did you know? She flinched. No. Then, quieter. Not exactly. I pushed the folder away. What does that mean? Tears welled in her eyes. She told me there was a mix-up a while back. That she'd fix it. I believed her. A hollow laugh escaped me. So, we were both fools. She didn't argue. I stood, pacing, thoughts colliding like a car crash. This wasn't just money. It was leverage. She had something over me now. And knowing her, this was just the beginning. My wife wiped her face. What do we do? I didn't answer. Because I wasn't sure yet. But one thing was clear. I wasn't playing defense anymore. The next morning, I made calls. Lawyers. Financial advisors. A few people I trusted in the real estate business. The answers weren't promising. The paperwork was clean. Every transfer, every signature, legally binding. Ironclad. She'd planned this. For years. But there was something else. A whisper. A rumor. A name. The man in the suit. I found him through a connection. A fixer, a professional problem solver for the wealthy and ruthless. Not a lawyer. Not a businessman. Someone who made problems disappear. Someone my mother-in-law should have never been able to afford. Unless the money I had been giving her wasn't just for luxury. Unless she was paying to destroy me. I clenched my jaw. She thought she had me cornered. She thought she'd won. She had no idea who she was playing against. She thought she'd won. That was her first mistake. The second? Underestimating me. I spent the next 48 hours digging. Calling in favors. Following the money. And what I found was gold. She was sloppy, too comfortable in her power, too convinced that I'd just roll over and accept defeat. The fixer? Not just a problem solver. He had ties. Illegal ones. The property? A front. She wasn't just sitting on my investment. She was using it. Laundering money through fake tenants, falsified rental agreements, shell companies. Fraud. And that was a noose tightening around her neck. The next time I saw her, I made sure she was trapped. A luxury cafe. Her kind of place. Expensive, elegant, a stage for manipulation. She was already seated when I arrived, a smug smile curling her lips. You're making this harder than it needs to be, she said, stirring her overpriced coffee. Be smart, son. Accept it. Move on. I sat down. Calm. Controlled. Then, I slid a different folder across the table. Read. She scoffed. But when she opened it, the color drained from her face. Bank records. Business registrations. Proof of her little side hustle. She snapped the folder shut. You have nothing. I leaned back. I have everything. And in exactly. I checked my watch. 10 minutes. My lawyer will be handing copies of that to the authorities. Her fingers trembled against the folder. You wouldn't. I tilted my head. Wouldn't I? Her composure cracked. She was trapped, and she knew it. Her lips parted. Maybe to argue. Maybe to beg. But I stood before she could speak. This is how it ends, I said. You take what you stole, and you run. Or you stay, and you burn. I let that sink in. Then I turned, walking away without a second glance. She didn't follow. Because for the first time, she had no move left to make. A month later, she was gone. No grand exit. No theatrics. Just silence. She liquidated assets, packed up, and vanished. Maybe to another city, maybe to another scheme. Didn't matter. She lost. The property? Mine again. My wife. Still by my side. But different now. We both were. She saw her mother for who she really was. And maybe that broke something inside her. Maybe it broke something in me, too. But we survived. And that was enough.